The twin suns of Kepler 442b hung low in the purple sky, casting strange double shadows across everything. 7-year-old Lily Brooks had her nose pressed against the thick glass window of her family's apartment, watching the madness below. The alarm sirens screamed through the air for the third time this month, and the whole settlement had erupted into chaos. "Lily, get away from that window right now." Her father's voice cut through the noise. Tom Brooks stood in the doorway, his face pale and tense. But Lily couldn't move. She'd never seen anything like this before. Down in the main plaza, the alien residents of New Horizon were running in every direction. The Vreks, those tall blue-skinned beings with 4 arms, were frantically gathering their children and rushing toward the underground bunker. Their normally graceful movements had turned clumsy with panic. The Krell, the gray aliens who usually walked around calm and collected, were now marching in tight military formations toward the outer walls. Even the Torvin merchants, who never left their stalls for anything, were scrambling inside with their tentacles waving wildly in the air. "Dad, what's happening? Is it another one?" Lily asked, her green eyes sparkling with excitement more than fear. Tom hurried over and gently pulled her back from the window. His hands were shaking slightly. "Yes, sweetheart. Another Ravenclaw. And this one's bad. Real bad." Lily's heart raced. She'd heard about the Ravenclaws ever since her family arrived on this colony world 6 months ago. Everyone talked about them in hushed, frightened voices. They were the nightmare creatures of Kepler 442b, the monsters that made even the bravest soldiers check under their beds at night. "What happened?" she whispered. Tom checked the electronic locks on their door twice, then a third time. "A Vrex hunting party went out beyond the perimeter fence this morning." "Stupid. Everyone knows you don't go out there." "But they did, and they ran right into a Ravenclaw. A massive one from what I heard." "Did the Vrex get away?" 3 of them are in the medical center right now. The doctors don't know if they'll make it." Tom's jaw clenched. "The creature got past our fence somehow. Just tore right through the security barrier like it was made of paper. The defense turrets finally drove it back, but not before it caused havoc." Lily had never seen a Ravenclaw in person, and part of her desperately wanted to. She'd only caught glimpses from her window during other attacks, dark shapes moving through the distant trees, too far away to see clearly. But she'd heard the sounds. All those sounds, the roars that echoed across the valley made her bones feel like jelly. Even through the reinforced walls of their apartment, those roars sounded like thunder mixed with a scream. The adults described Ravenclaws like they were describing demons. 12 feet tall at the shoulder, they said. Maybe taller. Covered head to toe in black scales harder than military armor. 6 legs, each ending in claws that could slice through solid steel doors. Teeth like swords. Eyes that glowed in the dark. And fast. Impossibly fast for something so big. The colony had lost 47 people to Ravenclaw attacks in just 2 years. 47. Lily knew because there was a memorial wall in the center of town with all their names carved into it. She walked past it every day on her way to school. "The turrets hit it pretty good though," Tom continued, moving to check the window seals. "Shot it up bad before it ran back into the forest. The tracking sensors show it somewhere northeast of here, probably bleeding out in the wilderness." "Will it die?" Lily asked quietly. "Maybe. Hopefully." Tom rubbed his tired eyes. "But here's the thing about wounded animals, Lily. They're even more dangerous than healthy ones. They're desperate, angry, unpredictable. The council's meeting right now to figure out what to do. Meanwhile, nobody leaves the compound. Not for anything. Understand?" Lily nodded, but her mind was already somewhere else. She thought about the creature out there in the forest, hurt and alone. Did it have a family? Was it scared? Everyone talked about Ravenclaws like they were evil monsters, but her mother, Beth, who worked as a scientist studying alien life, had taught her something important. "Remember, Lily," her mom always said, "no animal is truly evil. They're just trying to survive in the only way they know how." Lily pressed her hand against the cool glass one more time before stepping back. Outside, the sky was darkening as the twin suns began to set. The forest beyond the settlement walls looked mysterious and inviting, even with the danger lurking inside. Tom gently turned her away from the window. "I mean it, kiddo. No sneaking out to explore like you usually do. This is serious. That thing could come back." "I promise, Dad." But even as the words left her mouth, Lily was thinking about that wounded Ravenclaw somewhere out there in the dark. She'd found a secret way out of the compound 3 weeks ago, a maintenance tunnel that nobody seemed to remember existed. She'd been using it to explore the edges of the forest, discovering the incredible alien plants and creatures that lived there. The phosphorescent flowers that hummed little songs when the wind blew. The tiny lizards made of what looked like living crystal, changing colors as they scurried across the rocks. The jellyfish-like creatures that floated through the tree canopy, glowing softly in the twilight. This world was full of wonders and Lily couldn't get enough of it. Now there was a wounded Ravenclaw out there. A real one. Close by. She should have been terrified. Any sensible person would be. But Lily wasn't terrified. She was curious. And that curiosity, her father would later say, changed everything for everyone in the colony. For everyone in the galaxy, really. That night, as the settlement locked down and armed patrols doubled on the walls, Lily lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. She could hear her parents talking in worried voices in the next room. She could hear the distant hum of security drones circling the perimeter. And somewhere out there in the darkness, beyond the walls and the fences and the fear, a creature was dying alone. Lily made up her mind. Tomorrow she would find it. 3 whole days went by. 3 long, tense days where nobody was allowed to leave the settlement. The aliens paced back and forth along the walls, staring out into the forest with weapons in their hands. Hunting parties went out every morning and came back every evening with nothing to show for it. The Ravenclaw had disappeared like smoke, leaving behind only splatters of dark purple blood that led into the thick jungle and then just stopped. Lily sat in the corner of the council meeting room, her homework tablet open on her lap, pretending to work on math problems. But she wasn't looking at numbers. She was listening to every word the adults said. Commander Vexlar stood at the front of the room, straight as a metal pole like always. He was Krell, which meant he never smiled, never joked, and saw everything as a military problem that needed a military solution. His gray skin looked even paler than usual under the harsh lights. The creature must be located and destroyed, he said in that flat, emotionless voice of his. A wounded Ravenclaw this close to our home is completely unacceptable. It's a disaster waiting to happen. A Vrek scout named Kelmar stood up next. His 4 arms moved as he talked, pointing at a glowing map that floated in the air above the table. We followed the blood trail northeast for 7 kilometers. It leads straight to the ravine system. That's where we lost it. Either the creature died down there or it's hiding somewhere, healing up. Then we go in with everything we've got, Vexlar said firmly. 20 soldiers. Heavy plasma weapons. Aerial drones with thermal scanners. We search every cave, every crevice until we find it. Lily's father Tom shook his head. That seems like a waste of resources for one injured animal. Why don't we just wait it out? If it's badly hurt, nature will take care of the problem for us. Vexlar's eyes narrowed into thin slits. And what if it's not dying? What if it survives? Ravenclaws are incredibly tough. We have records of them living through injuries that would kill 3 of our soldiers. If this one heals, it will come back. And wounded predators are always angry. Always looking for revenge. The words hit Lily like a punch to the stomach. They were going to hunt it down and kill it. She pictured the Ravenclaw somewhere in those ravines, hurt and scared and alone, and her chest felt tight. It wasn't fair. The creature hadn't asked to be shot. It was probably just hungry or protecting its territory. And now they wanted to finish it off like it was nothing more than trash to be thrown away. She couldn't let that happen. That night, Lily lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her parents' soft breathing in the next room. She waited. And waited. The settlement grew quiet as the hours passed. Finally, when her watch showed 2 in the morning, she moved. She'd packed her backpack earlier and hidden it under her bed. Now she pulled it out as quietly as possible. Inside were water bottles, protein bars, her warmest jacket, a flashlight, and the first aid kit from the bathroom. She'd also managed to sneak into her mother's research lab that afternoon and grab some medical supplies, bottles of antiseptic, rolls of bandages, and some pain medication that her mom used when treating injured animals. Lily changed out of her pajamas into dark pants and a dark shirt. If anyone spotted her, she wanted to blend into the shadows. She tied her shoes carefully, making sure the laces wouldn't come undone, then shouldered her backpack. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the air system. Lily crept through the living room like a ghost, avoiding the spots on the floor that creaked. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might wake up the whole building. Outside in the hallway, the emergency lighting gave everything a weird blue glow. Lily moved quickly but carefully toward the maintenance tunnels. She discovered the entrance 3 weeks ago while exploring, a small access panel behind some storage boxes that nobody ever moved. The adults had forgotten it existed, but Lily had memorized every tunnel and passage. The panel opened with a soft click that sounded way too loud in the quiet hallway. Lily froze, holding her breath, but no alarms went off. No doors opened. She slipped inside and pulled the panel shut behind her. The tunnel was dark and cramped, barely wide enough for her small body. An adult would never fit through here. Lily switched on her flashlight and started crawling. The metal walls felt cold under her hands. Strange sounds echoed through the darkness. The whoosh of air recyclers, the drip of condensation, the distant hum of machinery. After what felt like forever but was probably only 5 minutes, Lily reached the outer access hatch. This was the moment of truth. Once she opened it, she'd be outside the settlement walls. Outside the safety of the compound. Outside where the Ravenclaw might be. Her hand hesitated on the release lever. She thought about her parents waking up and finding her gone. They'd be terrified. They'd probably search everywhere. Her dad might even blame himself for not watching her more carefully. But then she thought about the Ravenclaw, bleeding and alone in the darkness. Lily pushed the lever. The hatch opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Cool night air rushed in, carrying the scent of alien flowers and damp earth. The twin moons hung huge in the purple-black sky, casting enough silvery light to see by. Lily squeezed through the hatch and found herself standing in the tall grass outside the settlement walls. She'd done it. She was out. The forest loomed ahead, dark and mysterious and full of sounds she couldn't identify. Chirps and whistles and rustles. Somewhere in the distance, something howled, not a Ravenclaw, something else, but still eerie enough to make her skin prickle. Lily pulled out her tablet and opened the map she'd secretly copied from the council meeting. 7 kilometers northeast to the ravine system. She could do this. She'd hiked farther than that back on Earth with her school camping group. She took a deep breath, adjusted her backpack and started walking toward the tree line. The bioluminescent plants her mom had told her about started appearing as she entered the forest. They glowed in shades of blue and green and purple, creating a fairy tale landscape that would have been beautiful if Lily wasn't so nervous. The trees here were nothing like Earth trees. They had smooth, silver bark and leaves that looked more like feathers. Some of them even moved slightly as if they were breathing. Strange creatures watched her from the branches. Little eyes reflecting her flashlight beam. Most of them scurried away as she approached, but a few just stared, curious about this small human wandering through their territory. Lily walked for over an hour, following the map on her tablet and trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Her legs started to ache. Her backpack felt heavier with each step. But she kept going. Then she saw it. The blood trail. Even in the moonlight, it was obvious. Dark purple splatters on the silver grass. Smears on tree trunks where something large had brushed past. The blood looked almost black in the darkness and there was a lot of it. More than Lily had expected. The creature was badly hurt. Really badly. She followed the trail carefully, her heart now pounding for entirely different reasons. She was close. Very close. At any moment she might come face to face with the galaxy's most feared predator. The ground started sloping downward. The ravines. Lily approached the edge carefully and looked down. Her flashlight beam caught something moving on a ledge about 30 feet below. Something huge. Something covered in scales that gleamed like polished stone. Something with 6 legs and eyes that suddenly opened, glowing amber in the darkness. The Ravenclaw. And it was looking right at her. Lily became like a shadow in her own home. Every night after her parents went to sleep, she'd slip out through that secret maintenance tunnel. The compound stayed locked down tight during the day, but at night, Lily had her own private doorway to another world. A world where she sat with a creature that could tear her apart in seconds but somehow never did. The second night she visited, Lily came prepared. She'd stolen extra food from the cafeteria during lunch, protein bars, dried meat strips, even an apple she'd been saving. She filled 3 water bottles and stuffed them in her backpack along with more medical supplies. When she climbed down into the ravine this time, the Ravenclaw was awake and watching. Those glowing amber eyes tracked her every movement as she carefully made her way down the rocky slope. The creature didn't growl, but it didn't look friendly either. Just watchful. "Hey there, big guy," Lily said softly, staying about 20 feet away like last time. "I brought you some stuff. Food, water, and medicine for that nasty cut on your side." The wound looked bad. Really bad. In the moonlight, Lily could see it was all puffy and swollen, with weird discolored stuff around the edges. Infected. Her mom had shown her infected wounds before in the lab. This one needed treatment fast or the creature might die anyway. "I'm calling you Shadow," Lily announced, setting her backpack down slowly. "Because you're all dark and mysterious. Plus, you kind of blend into the shadows when you're still. Is that okay?" Shadow just stared at her with those unblinking eyes. Lily pulled out the antiseptic spray and held it up. This might sting a little, but it'll help. I promise. But I need to get close to you. Real close. Can I do that? Please? Shadow's eyes narrowed. A low rumble started deep in the creature's chest, making the rocks beneath Lily's feet vibrate. It wasn't quite a growl, but it wasn't friendly either. It was a warning. Okay, Lily said quickly, sitting down right where she was. I'll wait. You tell me when you're ready. So she waited. And waited. The minutes crawled by like hours. Lily sat cross-legged on the cold stone, occasionally talking in a quiet voice about random things. Her favorite foods, the pretty glowing flowers she'd seen in the forest, how much she missed her dog back on Earth. But mostly she just sat there, being calm, being patient, being present. Shadow watched her the whole time, never looking away. After about an hour, Lily scooted forward. Just 6 inches. Shadow's muscles tensed, but the creature didn't move. Lily waited another 20 minutes, then moved forward another 6 inches. It took 3 hours. 3 long, patient hours of tiny movements and quiet words. But finally, Lily was close enough to reach out and touch Shadow's front leg. Her hand shook as she extended it. This was insane. This was the most dangerous thing she'd ever done in her whole life. One swipe of those claws and she'd be done. One snap of those jaws and it would be over before she even felt pain. But something in those amber eyes stopped her fear. They weren't the eyes of a mindless monster. They were intelligent. Aware. Watching not just with caution but with something else. Curiosity maybe. Or recognition that this tiny human was trying to help. Lily's fingers touched Shadow's scales. They were warm. That surprised her. She'd expected them to be cold like metal. But no, they were warm like a living thing should be, smooth but with a texture like polished stone. Beautiful really when you looked at them up close. Each scale overlapped perfectly with the next, creating armor that could stop bullets but felt almost silky under her palm. You're amazing, Lily whispered, her voice full of wonder. You're absolutely amazing. Shadow's eyes closed for just a second. Not all the way, just a slow blink. And that rumbling in the creature's chest changed. Not a warning anymore. Something else. Something almost like a cat's purr but deeper. Much deeper. That night, Lily managed to clean the wound. It took forever because she had to move so carefully, so gently, but Shadow let her do it. The creature flinched when the antiseptic spray hit the infected area, but it didn't pull away. Didn't attack. Just endured the pain while this small human tried to help. The bandages looked ridiculous wrapped around such a massive body, like putting a tiny band-aid on a car. But it was better than nothing. After that night, everything changed. Lily came back every single night, and each time Shadow seemed less like a dangerous predator and more like, well, like a friend. By the 3rd night, Shadow's head would lift the moment it heard Lily's footsteps approaching. The creature recognized her sounds now, her scent, her presence. By the 4th night, the growling stopped completely. Shadow even made little chirping sounds when Lily arrived, almost like the creature was happy to see her. By the end of the 1st week, something incredible happened. Lily climbed onto Shadow's back. She'd been talking about it all night, working up the courage. My mom used to take me horseback riding back on Earth, she explained, walking around Shadow's massive form. We had this horse called Thunder. He was big and strong and beautiful. You remind me of him, actually. Except you're way bigger and you have 6 legs instead of 4, and you could probably eat Thunder in one bite without even chewing. Shadow made that deep purring sound. Can I try? Lily asked, gesturing to the creature's back. Can I climb up there? Just for a minute? Shadow lowered its body slightly, bringing its back closer to the ground. An invitation. Lily's heart hammered as she carefully climbed up, using the scales like handholds. She settled herself between 2 of Shadow's massive shoulder blades, her legs dangling down on either side of the creature's broad back. Oh wow, she breathed. This is incredible. Shadow stood up slowly, carefully, and Lily gasped as she rose 12 feet into the air. The ravine looked completely different from up here. Shadow took a few careful steps, moving with a gentleness that seemed impossible for something so large. Lily laughed, she couldn't help it. Pure joy bubbled up from her chest and spilled out into the night air. She was riding a Ravenclaw. An actual, real-life, supposedly unkillable apex predator. And it wasn't trying to eat her. It was being gentle. Protective even. We're friends now, aren't we? Lily said, patting Shadow's neck. Real friends. You and me against the world. Shadow rumbled in response, and somehow Lily knew the answer was yes. The impossible had become real. A human child and the galaxy's most feared creature had formed a bond that shouldn't exist. And that bond was about to change everything. The emergency alert blasted through the settlement at 4 in the morning. The high-pitched alarm jerked everyone awake, sending people stumbling out of bed in confusion and panic. Within 5 minutes, every light in New Horizon was blazing. Within 30 minutes, soldiers were gearing up, checking weapons and loading into transport vehicles. Within an hour, a full tactical team stood at the edge of the ravine system, armed with enough firepower to take down a small army. Commander Vexlar stood at the front of the group, his plasma rifle humming with deadly energy. Behind him, 20 Krell soldiers formed precise rows, their gray faces set in grim determination. 10 Vrex warriors gripped their glowing energy spears, all 4 arms ready for combat. And mixed in with the aliens were a handful of humans, including Tom and Beth Brooks, who'd thrown on clothes and raced out the door the second they heard their daughter's name crackling through the emergency broadcast. Beth's face had gone completely white. Her hands shook as she grabbed the railing at the ravine's edge. "My daughter is down there? With that thing? Are you absolutely sure?" Kelmar, the Vrex scout who'd made the discovery, gestured with all 4 of his arms toward the ledge below. "Confirmed. The human child, Lily Brooks. Alive. Uninjured. But the situation is highly unusual." "Unusual?" Tom practically roared, grabbing Kelmar's shoulder hard enough to make the alien flinch. "That's my little girl down there with a monster that's killed 47 colonists. Unusual doesn't even begin to cover it." Commander Vexlar's cold voice cut through the chaos. "Mr. Brooks, control yourself. We need to assess this situation with clear heads and tactical precision. Getting emotional will only put your child in more danger." "More danger? How could she possibly be in more danger?" But Vexlar was already moving toward the edge, motioning for his soldiers to spread out. They crept forward with weapons raised, every muscle tensed for combat. Years of military training had prepared them for almost anything. Almost. What they saw when they looked over the edge made even the most experienced soldiers stop dead in their tracks. Mouths fell open. Weapons lowered slightly in sheer confusion. There on the rocky ledge 30 feet below sat Lily Brooks. She was perched comfortably on the Ravenclaw's broad back like she was sitting on a couch at home, legs swinging back and forth without a care in the world. One hand rested on the creature's neck, and she was scratching behind what might have been its ear with the other. The Ravenclaw itself lay curled in a relaxed position, its massive head resting near Lily's dangling feet. Those terrifying amber eyes were half closed, and the creature's whole body language screamed contentment. If it had been a cat, it would have been purring. "And that's why chocolate is obviously the best ice cream flavor," Lily was saying, completely oblivious to the armed forces gathering above her. "Vanilla is just boring shadow. It doesn't have any personality. Are you even paying attention to me? This is serious stuff we're discussing here." Shadow made a deep rumbling sound that vibrated through the rocks. It actually sounded pleased. Dr. Vorn, a Krell scientist who joined the rescue team, stared down at the scene with his analytical mind struggling to process what his eyes were seeing. "This is impossible," he muttered, his translator converting his clicking language into English. "Ravenclaws are solitary apex predators. They don't bond. They don't form attachments. They certainly don't let other species ride on their backs. This goes against every single thing we've documented about their behavior." "I don't give a damn about documentation," Beth shouted, already looking for a way down. "That's my daughter." "Mom?" Lily's head whipped around so fast her ponytail flew. Her eyes went huge as she spotted the crowd of armed soldiers at the top of the ravine. All the color drained from her face. Shadow's reaction was immediate and terrifying. The creature's eyes snapped fully open, blazing like twin suns. In one smooth, powerful motion, Shadow rose to full height, forcing Lily to grab onto the scales to keep from sliding off. The Ravenclaw's body language transformed instantly from relaxed to battle-ready. A growl built in Shadow's chest. Not the gentle rumbling from before. This was the sound that had made hardened warriors wet themselves in fear. It echoed off the ravine walls, so deep and powerful that several soldiers took involuntary steps backward. Shadow positioned itself between Lily and the threat above, every muscle coiled and ready to spring. The creature's scales seemed to ripple like liquid metal. Those massive claws dug into the stone, leaving deep gouges. "Target locked," Commander Vexlar announced, raising his plasma rifle. The weapon whined as it charged to full power. "Preparing to neutralize the threat." "No." Lily's scream cut through everything. "Don't you dare shoot him. Please. He's not hurting me." "Lily, sweetheart, you need to jump down right now," Tom called out, his voice cracking with fear. "Get away from that creature this instant." "I won't. You don't understand. Shadow is my friend." That thing is not your friend, Vexlar stated flatly. It's a Ravenclaw. A killer. Miss Brooks, dismount immediately so we can eliminate the threat. Shadow's growl intensified. The creature's lips pulled back, revealing rows of teeth that could bite through steel. Every soldier recognized what was about to happen. They'd seen it before. This was the stance Ravenclaws took right before they attacked. Weapons charged. Fingers moved to triggers. The air crackled with tension. Wait. Beth's voice rang out with sudden authority. She pushed forward, her scientist brain finally overriding her panicked mother instincts. Everyone lower your weapons. Now. Dr. Brooks, with all respect, Vexlar began. Look at its posture. Beth interrupted, her eyes scanning the Ravenclaw with professional intensity. Really look at it. That's not an attack stance. It's defensive. The creature is protecting Lily, not threatening her. Dr. Vorn's head tilted as he studied the scene more carefully. His analytical mind caught what the soldier's combat training had missed. The doctor is correct, he said slowly. The creature's body language indicates protective behavior, not predatory aggression. This is unprecedented. Lower your weapons, Beth commanded again. All of you. You're scaring it, and a scared Ravenclaw is what will get my daughter killed. Slowly, reluctantly, the soldiers lowered their rifles and spears. The moment they did, Shadow's aggressive posture eased slightly. The growling quieted, though the creature remained alert and watchful. Beth knelt at the edge of the ravine, making herself smaller, less threatening. Her voice softened. Lily, honey, I need you to listen very carefully. How long have you been coming here? Lily bit her lip, guilt written all over her young face. 8 days. I'm sorry I snuck out, but Shadow was hurt and nobody else was going to help him in. 8 days. Tom breathed. You've been coming here for over a week? You named it? Another soldier asked in disbelief. He's not an it. Lily insisted, her hand protectively stroking Shadow's neck. He's Shadow. And he's smart and gentle and he understands me. He's been letting me treat his wound every night. We're friends. Real friends. The word hung in the air like something alien and incomprehensible. Friends. A human child and a Ravenclaw. It shouldn't be possible. It violated everything they thought they knew about this species, about predators, about the natural order of things. But there it was, right in front of them. Impossible. Undeniable. Real. And in that moment, everyone watching realized that nothing in their galaxy would ever be quite the same again. Retriclog can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The argument inside the council chamber had been going on for hours now. Outside in the corridor, the young girl sat on a cold metal bench, her legs swinging back and forth with nervous energy. She couldn't sit still, not with so many important people inside deciding what would happen to her new friend. Beside her, taking up most of the hallway, lay the enormous creature. Its dark scales caught the artificial light, creating ripples of shadow across the walls. The beast's presence had emptied the entire section of the building. People who worked here had taken one look at the massive predator and quickly found reasons to be somewhere else. Guards stood at both ends of the corridor, keeping their distance but watching carefully. Yet the child barely noticed any of this. Her attention kept drifting to the closed doors of the chamber, where raised voices could be heard even through the thick walls. Inside, the discussion had grown heated. The military commander stood firm in his position, his voice cutting through the noise. The creature had to go, he insisted. It didn't matter how calm it seemed right now or how well it listened to the girl's voice. At its core, it remained a killer, a predator whose kind had already taken too many lives from their colony. But the head scientist wasn't backing down. She'd spent the last few hours watching something remarkable unfold. More than 50 different people had cautiously approached the beast during that time. Each one had been terrified at first, which was perfectly reasonable given what these creatures were capable of. Yet not once had the animal shown even a hint of aggression. It had remained calm, almost gentle. When the child spoke to it, the beast obeyed immediately. When soldiers had nervously asked it to move back, it had complied without hesitation. This wasn't the behavior of a mindless killing machine. The commander reminded everyone of the numbers. 47 colonists dead. 47 families destroyed. How could they forget that? How could they even consider letting this thing stay? That's when another voice joined the debate. The child's mother spoke up, her words measured but passionate. She pointed out something crucial that everyone seemed to be missing. Yes, wild versions of these creatures had killed their people. That was undeniable and tragic. But this one was different. Somehow, Impossibly, her daughter had created a connection that changed everything about how the beast behaved. Couldn't they see how incredible this was? This wasn't just about one tamed animal. This was a breakthrough that could transform their entire relationship with this deadly world. The alien scout from the other species rose to speak. His people had wisdom born from centuries of survival on harsh worlds. He shared an old saying from his homeworld about how foolish individuals fear storms while wise ones learn to redirect them. Perhaps instead of destroying something they didn't understand, they should study it. Learn from it. Use it. One of the council members challenged this immediately. Use it how, exactly? What practical application could this possibly have? The child's father had been quiet throughout most of the meeting. He'd been processing everything, trying to make sense of a situation that defied all logic. But now he stood up, and something in his expression made the room fall silent. He told them he wanted to share a story from their homeworld. It was an old story, one that happened so long ago that the exact details had been lost to time. But the lesson remained clear. Thousands upon thousands of years ago, his ancestors had encountered wolves. These weren't the friendly animals some people might imagine. They were apex predators, efficient pack hunters that could tear a person apart. They were dangerous, deadly, and smart. Most humans who encountered them did the sensible thing and either ran away or fought them off. But some humans did something different. Some looked at those fierce predators and saw possibility instead of just threat. Those brave or perhaps foolish individuals started leaving food out. They tolerated the wolves near their camps. Slowly, carefully, over many generations, something amazing happened. Those wolves changed. They became less wild, more trusting. They began to help humans hunt, to guard their homes, to warn them of danger. Eventually, they became something entirely new. He showed everyone images from Earth's ancient history. Pictures of humans with dogs by their sides. The descendants of those fierce wolves, now loyal companions. But it didn't stop there. His people had done the same thing with horses, powerful animals that could crush a human with a single kick. They'd befriended cats, tamed birds of prey, even worked alongside massive elephants. Species after species that possessed the power to kill humans had instead become partners, friends, and helpers. All of this happened because some people chose to see potential instead of only danger. They chose patience over fear, understanding over destruction. And it had changed everything about human civilization. Those partnerships had helped humanity spread across their entire planet and eventually to the stars. The room had grown quiet. People were thinking now, really thinking about what this could mean. The child outside in the corridor didn't know it yet, but the tone inside the chamber was shifting. Questions that had seemed to have obvious answers suddenly weren't so simple anymore. The scientist spoke again, her voice thoughtful. She suggested running tests, careful observations under controlled conditions. They could learn so much about these creatures, about how they thought, how they formed bonds, what triggered their aggressive behavior and what calmed them. Knowledge like that could save countless lives. The commander still looked uncertain, but even he had to admit the comparison to Earth's animals was compelling. Security measures would need to be strict, he insisted. Protocols, barriers, emergency procedures. If they were going to try this, it had to be done safely. Someone suggested creating a special area, separated from the main settlement but close enough for regular contact. They could study the bond between child and beast, see if it could be replicated with other handlers and other creatures. If this worked, it might solve their biggest problem on this world. The alien scout nodded approvingly. This was wisdom, he said. This was how civilizations survived and thrived on hostile worlds. Not by fighting everything that scared them, but by learning, adapting, and finding unexpected allies.